Welcome back, everybody. We are here for the second match of the night. Sandbox Gaming up against Team Dynamics. This is me, Valdez, with LS. And first series went 2-0, by the way, to the side of T1, who was able to take out KT. But now we're going to have a matchup that should be pretty even, just looking at it on paper, as both of these teams have had their struggles. They are below the kind of 500 mark in terms of their win rate right now, but they're both still looking for a chance to make it into playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that Dynamics, this is really going to be a very important showing for them here today to see where they really are stacking up. It's mostly between them and Sandbox, pretty much, to see who can actually try to make it onto the left-hand side. There's KT there as well that are running, but KT looks really strong, even in some of their losses. And coming up against Sandbox here tonight, it's going to be another one of those tests for them. How do they actually stack up against the East Side teams? And so we move into the points of the match. This is a must-win match to join the West. Sandbox looking to reach the 6th win mark versus Dynamic on the verge of 5 straight losses. They've been floundering.
Yeah, Team Dynamics definitely have taken kind of a plunge right now, and they did face off against some strong teams, obviously, but they need to try to turn their season around here. Sandbox started off with a win versus Dynamics in round 1, followed by 5 straight L's and then 4 straight wins. Can they relay their winning streak via taking down Team Dynamics, trying to get it all started again? Dynamics core, Rich, is currently sitting at 600 POG points on this team. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, and I mean, can he get through? Can Summit get through the King of Atrox? This is kind of interesting because Summit is the original King of Atrox.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool in the sense that we could have a bit of an Atrox war over maybe picks. I think Summit has said in interviews, not recently, but a while ago, that he actually doesn't like Atrox. Even though it was by far his most premier champion. When we take a look at team stats, Herald percent is 3rd in the league for Dynamics, and Dragon Soul also 3rd. So their objective control seemingly is up there for them. When we take a look at Sandbox's starting roster, no real surprises coming in here. Again, big question, Summit or Plummet here is going to show up. Sort of like the Choky of old.
I guess so.
It really, you know, it's...
I do think that Chovy was even, you know, on a much higher level, though. Even when Summit was up towards the top. As we do look on the other side, they don't have any subs, I don't believe. Yeah, they do not. Just double-checked, and so it's always the same 5 players that do come out here. The mid lane, I think, is going to be kind of interesting. I think that Fate has really been playing it off, as we see. Goes straight into the key players here. You can see in the mid lane, Fate is #1 in terms of damage percentage. So he comes in and makes a huge difference to this lineup. He came in around the time that Yamato started, you know, consistently stage coaching. And the two of them, I feel like, are big reasons why Sandbox have been able to salvage their season.
Yeah, and we'll see what can happen here today as Kuzan, he's really been losing his groove here in LCK. He's not coming out with any of the unique picks or the lane dominance that he's able to have in Challenger Series, and with the rest of Dynamics really just having a bit of a rough time, they're becoming increasingly more reliant on opponents' mistakes in order to really stay afloat. And a lot of that team cohesiveness they had in the early stages, it's really falling apart. And what it immediately makes me think of is Sandbox of old, Dom1 of old, when they come into new splits and they really have that teamwork together from having climbed up from Challengers, and they're doing it and they're looking like teams, but as splits evolve and move on, the really stacked lineups and stacked rosters tend to just start getting better, and that teamwork and cohesiveness stops carrying you. And so the inability to contend on mechanical prowess and playmaking starts to end up coming back to bite them. So This is a super important match. And yeah, they're trying to channel Nuggery right now.
Yeah, the top laners and their massages. I don't know what it is, but apparently it gets the blood flowing and helps out in their game. Here's Yamato. He was talking about his different suits and what he's going to wear. Looking pretty nice today. He's got a dashing suit on with a very on-point red tie, you can say, for his team. Always looking sharp is Yamato. There's Fate. Definitely one of the newer guys to come into the league, but really has made a nice little splash here on a team that isn't necessarily having the most success, but Fate is definitely proving that he is quite the mid laner.
Yep. I'm curious what kind of a draft we're going to end up having to open this series up. Obviously, Dynamics, they're on the red side. We'll see if they can utilize any of the counter picks that they have available to them. Obviously, one of the points of the match was about the weak bot lanes, and I mean, that definitely is one of Dynamics' weak points, is their bot lane.
Yeah.
As it's something.
It is. It's definitely been a thorn in their side for a little bit here. I think that when we saw them get up through the promotions and the relegations, Duckdom and Guga were kind of just carried a little bit. And then once in the beginning of the LCK, we were like, yeah, I mean, they're okay. They're not the strong points. But then slowly teams began to just manipulate that bottom lane and say that's their big weakness and really try to take advantage of it. And that has been the difference maker, I think, for a lot of teams up against Team Dynamics. So here we are going into pick ban. The Senna priority sky high.
And Dynamics, they're banning away Karma and Volibear. We'll see what else Sandbox are going to elect to ban away. Okay, it's going to be the Bard.
As it should be.
And remember, for all the viewers watching, if you tilt your head sideways, Bard's head doesn't really change.
Yeah.
His face is always looking, yeah.
I don't know how he manages it, but it's
It really is weird, yeah.
He's very talented. I've never seen anyone with a face like that.
All right. B1 Aphelios. I really feel like it is one of the weakest openings that you can go for, because we've seen it across multiple regions just end up in a complete, nightmare box, pretty much, where it just gets outranged, controlled by everything, and Aphelios just can't interact with the opponents. And it's such a commitment champion. And Aphelios is great. We've said it many times on the broadcast. He is a conditional hyper carry. So we'll see how the rest of the draft unfolds. Tom Kench being hovered right now.
Yeah. I feel like that's part of the reason why we saw the Bard ban. Even Teddy was talking about it, how the Ezreal Bard can be really difficult for Aphelios to deal with. Ezreal alone is fine, and maybe even Ashe alone is fine, but the Bard really makes it difficult for the Aphelios to maneuver around the fights. And we have Olaf Tom Kench, so again, it's definitely comfort for the two players, but it's not necessarily the highest priority we've seen in some of the other matches here in the LCK.
And Dynamics now, the Pantheon, it's probably flex. It is in theory it's Quadriflex, but now with Trundle coming in, it is definitely going to be either mid-top or support. We'll have to see where it does end up. Traptal has officially been locked in, like we just mentioned. Right now, as it stands, I mean, Dynamics, they have a lot of zone control right now, and Ashe is having a pretty okay time. They have counterpick available to them in the support role if they want it. And with Sandbox being also short range, mages, enchanters, I mean, Dynamics are one of the Zyra players. So, in solo queue, they have played Zyra. Sully One Prince, I believe, has debuted the combo a few times. Zoe removed from the table as Lucian. That's a Kuzan special.
Yeah, Kuzan, Rich, both do enjoy playing the Lucian, even though pretty much no other team uses it. I guess Death plays it from time to time. And yeah, I think banning out Fate here is not a bad idea. Maybe take away his LeBlanc on top of it if you're really just trying to target his picks. But the Zoe makes sense. And it will be the LeBlanc that does follow it up.
And see what the final ban is going to be for Sandbox.
We're going to need some kind of magic damage outside of just Subjugate.
Yeah. So we'll see where they go with it. They might just save the mid pick for the final selection. That way they can retain flex with Pantheon. And that would be one of the better options that they could do here. So let's see if Dynamics goes with an R4 support. Another interesting thing would be an R4 multi-flex champion as well. They retain some value there with Pantheon. And no, it's going to be Azir.
Definitely a bit more obvious where that guy's going. That bird into the hands of Kuzan. And so that will give a chance for them to try to counter in the mid lane. And, well, we might just get Corki Azir here to start off this one. And then probably a blind top lane, you'd have to imagine.
Corki locked in now for a Sandbox. It's an answer to the Azir. And Sandbox now, they have to choose the top lane champion. What is it going to be? Are they, I mean, I'm so curious to see if Aatrox actually would get picked. Okay, well. Jace being hovered. Summit might be thinking that he wants this champion in the event that Kennen or Aatrox comes out so that it can be wrapped up in a knife fight, but Ninja Tab Eyes are so effective now for Dynamics' team composition. It does look like the... Ooh.
Akali last second, and
yeah,
that's going into the hands of Rich. We're not going to be seeing support Akali or top Azir. Definitely very interesting. It turns that matchup into a much more knife fight type of matchup. Rich has to look for his... he's not going to have a lot of times where he can really go in, but when he does, he has to choose his spots really carefully and try to go for the all-in up against Summit's Jace.
And this is going to be it. There's no more swaps that's going to be available. So Dynamics' team composition, we're going to take a look at it one more time as the coaches do walk off the stage. So we'll see the Sandbox one first. So Jace, Olaf, Corki Aphelios, and Tahm Kench. This team composition is a bit all over the place with what it's aiming to do. They have some counter poke available inside of Jace Shock Blast and Corki, being able to poke with his missiles, but for the most part, they are really short range, and they do need to get to 2.5 items before they really start packing a punch. On the flip side, though, Akali, Trundle, Azir, Ashe, and Pantheon. So a lot of side lane pick in the later stages of the game, a lot of long range via the Ashe and the Azir, Trundle there to sort of act as a blockade. The Akali very off theme with everything else that's trying to be achieved. So there's definitely some off-kilter things present in both comps, and we'll have to see how they utilize it inside of the game. As okay, it's going to be the pink Corgi skin.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think that's okay. And we had some cats there too in the ads for the Cacao emoticons and stuff like that. Cacao, for you guys who do not know, obviously he is a very famous player. But other than that, it is the most common messaging app, actually, in Korea. So imagine like a WhatsApp. That is Cacao. And he's just going to stand on the axe, declare this place to be his. He also took Scorch, which
it doesn't make sense.
I don't know why.
When you're up against a teleport opponent, generally there's very little that you can actually do if you're taking teleport yourself when you have Scorch. And so the Gathering Storm is just not going to be there in the later stages, so a little unfortunate. We'll see what Kuzan can manage to do in laning phase. Oh, he's going to try to steal with an empowered Q.
And this is going to be really tricky, I think, for On Fleek. We're going to get the block out, and...
What the hell was he doing? What?
He's like, oh, it's in the brush. I shouldn't even look. Shouldn't even try.
That was entirely stealable.
Yeah. I don't know why he didn't just give it a shot. Like,
well, his mana was missing. He definitely did activate Q. I just don't know where he threw it.
Oh.
So, that's surprising. Now,
I guess he must have missed.
Yeah, Kuzan here in mid lane, he's shoving wave 2 really fast. And so no cheater option is going to be available to him as the wave crashes into the turret. So now he can pull 3, 4, 5, but it's not super ideal against Corki because Corki's not upset with this by any means. And he's not even going to try to do that. He's just going to keep shoving Corki underneath the turret. And while this is giving his jungler freedom, jungler doesn't really care about that freedom. It's not relieving any pressure. It's not really doing anything. Olaf, I mean, he's just power clearing.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Beyond did come in here and take both blue and the Gromp. And, well, this didn't spawn just yet. So you see question mark pings go onto the Raptors and the Crux as, well, there's really only a couple places he can be right now. Unless he ran all the way down to the bottom side, which he did. But at least On Fleek is able to come on in here and say, well, I guess I'll steal your Raptors.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here by Dynamics is they should know that this is happening right now. Beyond comes down, clears out the ward. He's going to move over to the Scuttle Crab. Now, Rich's lane is in a pretty awkward position, knowing that Olaf is probably in close proximity. And you can see the incoming minion wave. This is very doomed. This is wave 5. And Rich has failed to crash it into the turret. So Summit should hold it here indefinitely. And then Olaf is going to come around the corner. He's going to tap Rich a little bit, probably get his flash out. And then Rich's lane is going to be in a pretty awkward spot. So here he comes.
Yeah. Here's
and
the
this is
setup.
Pretty forced. And we know that this is possible at wave 3. So this is just a feature of what's going to happen when you have these opening jungle routes. And if we're wondering, well, where's the blunder? Akali mismanaged her wave somewhere between waves 2 and 4. And then in addition to that, Kuzan doesn't just place a ward onto the Raptors. And that way you can have exact intel on the Olaf.
Mm-hmm. Got a bit of a 2-on-2 happening here. The flash in from Beyond. Really trying to land that damage and exert dominance in the upper river. Meanwhile, they have some pretty decent priority in the mid lane here as Kuzan looking to push them in. There are so many pings on a Guguru, who is on a ward. So you see Gorilla comes over, going to spot him as the Scuttle Crab did go the way of the Trundle after all that trading. You can see that's the Sandbox players are getting bullied a little bit.
Yeah, Corki is really struggling here in mid. This is absolutely okay. Well, speaking of struggles.
Struggle
He's
looking for it. Yep. See ya. That was pretty easy. Now they're going to try to get it back, but the knockback onto Beyond might just be enough, and the one bite is not going to come off cooldown. Here comes Kuzan, though, streaking forward.
What?
But now on the way is On Fleek. TP has to be used by Rich to get up to the top side and stop all the fighting.
Well, that was definitely a faceplant, pretty much, onto Akali. Summit finding himself a nice solo kill, but Akali does get the assist. So that is there. Also, Akali did miss the cannon, so that definitely can't be understated. Teleports come out. Fate ends up picking up a call, which is sort of, I mean, it's kind of funny because it's been missing a lot of CS.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, not
so far behind this early on in the game.
Yep.
And this big wave is pushing into Kuzan, who should be able to pick everything up. It is Azir after all.
Yeah.
Just get a couple soldiers in the back line, clear that out, and then you can just auto the front ones.
This wave is very interesting, what Sandbox are trying to do with it. So we take a look at this. Rich messes up quite a bit. And Summit just capitalizing on it. Runs in, kills him, teleport coming out. Beyond takes a bite out of him, autos as well, and then right here when Kuzan would give Beyond the HP back, I'm so surprised he stays underneath the turret. They know that they can't die. And so the teleport coming in there by Corki, a little unfortunate overall. There's no real way to salvage that situation. And meanwhile, now up in top lane, Summit, this lane state, there's not really much that you can do with it. So the question becomes, does you want to stay in lane for a while longer? Or does he want to just insta-crash the wave, reset, get a Dirk, run back to lane? And then at that timing, On Fleek would be on the left-hand side of the map. Blue is respawning. Blue camps are up. Here we go.
Oh, boy. This is just like everybody on the side of Sandbox desperately trying to help Fate in this mid lane. And 3 members of Dynamics were there, too. So the powers combined from both teams able to get on in there and steal a bunch of XP away from the mid laners. But the mid lane still going really well for Kuzan. You can see that even on the XP department, able to push on in, get a nice little lead here. And I mean, it's 70 to 43, 44 CS. Probably going to be able to pick up these last 3. So now he's only down 23 CS before 8 minutes LS.
Yeah, I mean, stuff is definitely going a little strange here in this game.
Maybe I caster cursed him. I think I said one too many extra good comments. Like, the one was good, but then I said again that Fate was, like, really performing well, and then all of a sudden, like, this happens.
Well,
must be it.
I guess you could say it was Fate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really...
Yeah, I couldn't muster much.
I was on fleek with that one, I'll be honest.
Couldn't muster much else after that.
Found the route to that.
You've really hit your summit, LS.
I really have. Bit of a gorilla pillins, you know. It's...
What? What did you even say? I don't even know what you said.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
It's like made up a new sentence.
I went beyond anything else.
Oh, man. Well, we got this package in here, and Team Dynamics are just, they're kind of a mess. The slow on to Beyond is pretty big, as now he's going to subjugate, but it's too little too late. Now they have to flash away, and they leashed Shelly for the side of Sandbox. So even though their mid lane is getting absolutely crushed, now that Corki is 1-0-1 with the tier and scaling, and they're going to get this Rift Herald on top of it. So only good stuff on the way here for Sandbox.
Well, the weirdest thing to me, and I'll never get tired of seeing it, it's been so long now, is you have a scaling team comp and you make it a life mission to neglect the 4 or 5 jungle camps in your jungle and decide that it is imperative to get Herald. Super early on.
No.
I have really no words for this. Also, Rich taking a really heavy trade against Summit.
Package.
It was a good package out of Fate. Dynamics rotating here, but I just don't even know what's really going on. Sandbox end up coming here. They're probably surprised at what is transpiring. And so now Sandbox, they find themselves with a 1,100 gold lead, and what should have been a lot of stability is now not really ending up so much. Hex Drinker on Jace. Super valuable against the Azir, Akali, and Trundle in the later stages, you suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting great value there. And all those flushes are spared for the mid lane. Fate is just scaling on up himself. This bottom lane has been relatively actionless. It's kind of been mostly Root versus Duck Dom, and nobody's really made a big move either way. Root was able to chip down Duck Dom's health, we did see the last time around, so a little bit of a lead was garnered there, but outside of that, it does look like Kuzan is going to have to put the carry pants on for this game.
Yeah, and I mean, in this game, as it currently stands, I mean, Kuzan is the most equipped to do it. As you can see there, it's going to be the Herald Enhanced Recall. Not going to actually elect to use it down here in bot lane. Dukdom and Guger, I mean, we're playing ping pong in the middle of the lane. Not a whole lot happening. Rich backing off of top lane as it currently stands. Surprised he doesn't just go over with double refillable and Doron shield and just take the golems as Akali. He even has fleet footwork as well. There's not a whole lot going on in the lane, and Trundle won't be top for a little while. So it's not like Trundle needs that camp to be up. It would be very beneficial to actually consume them and get them to respawn at a higher level for his jungle.
I was just watching the skirmish here as Beyond, he looks like it was his life's mission to force a fight there between himself and the Olaf, probably trying to defend those control wards, but I think eventually it's not really going to work out. And we do have the Infernal Drake coming up next. Does mean it's either Mountain or the Ocean Soul that will be coming up. I think we had double Cloud Soul. No, we had Infernal. We had Cloud and then Infernal for game number one. As in goes Rich. He's looking for the play, and he might just die. Well, at least they might be able to get a kill over to Kuzan. Let's see if it all worked out. The mega bait. Well, at least they gave the kill to the carry, who is Kuzan, as that Akali is really doing zero in this game.
Yeah, Rich he's looking poor right now, I'll tell you that much. As he's 0-3-2 in this game. He's getting a little bit excited. Definitely not a closer level Akali so far.
Yeah.
In tonight's series, Herald crashes into the plates. They're going to have a minute to get that last one. Hopefully they are able to get it if you're a Sandbox fan, but no, it does not seem so. They're just going to let Azir back into mid lane. Doesn't even have Emperor's Divide. I think that there's a world where Tom Kent just walks up behind Corki, lets Corki auto that last plate. Corki takes 3 Sand Soldiers to the face, backs up, and he's never in danger. He gets the 160 gold for free. I don't know.
I think the risk is definitely worth it at least. Like, even if the other two are there.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Take a look at this. Rich, I mean, he's trying to do some fancy footwork. Summit was able to kill him in the end. Now, this is more beneficial for Akali, all things considered, because she has more potency the later the game goes on than a Jace would, but it still does suck if you are the Akali player, because you're obviously blundering.
1,200 gold ahead is the Jace in the top lane. And so that Jace, you know, we've seen this before too, where Jaces just get way out of hand and they stack that lethality before the enemy can build any armor. And, I mean, you look at the enemy, they don't have a tank top. They have a Trundle who can build armor, but... And I guess there's going to be a lot of Ninja Tabi, as you mentioned. But either way, we're going to have a fight here as the slows are coming in, and now everybody's just going to be cut off. They're trying to get on top of the Corki, but a big Devour comes in as Fate is going to survive. And in goes the Olaf, just smacking heads. And this is a big disaster for Team Dynamics. Over the wall goes Summit, as they were so set on taking that fight. They just needed to take it, and unfortunately they got punished. Sandbox able to shut him down.
Yeah, and I mean, Rich is just having one of the roughest games I think that we've seen him have in LCK.
Oh, man.
Oh, Sir Thomas.
Sir Gorilla. Oh, he even tanks the turret. Wait, why is Guger here? He's actually going to get the kill on the Olaf.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did get one kill, but it doesn't matter. This is definitely all she wrote here in this game. It is a 7,000 gold lead almost.
Wow.
At this point, I cannot know. 5. Well, if you factor in the turret just goes down and the Infernal Drake, add it all together.
Okay, yeah.
Perfect.
Actually, 5 hit.
Yeah.
Mathematics. Well done. So break this down. Why did they fight here?
Well, Moonlight Vigil ends up whiffing. The package is parting the Red Sea, so we got Moses on Corki over here. Rich goes over the wall, and I mean, Rich, I have no idea what he's doing at any point in the game.
Did you see Dukdom just standing
like
on
he
the
does
package the entire time? That's why he was so low that Olaf was just able to flash on top of him.
Perhaps
he didn't even take any other damage.
Have you seen the damage Corki's package does?
Yeah, it's massive.
It is one of the strongest abilities in the entire game. And what a good hold by Gorilla, honestly. Let's take a look at this from Summit's perspective. Says yeah. Yeah.
얘 W 사라졌거든요? 야, 나 이거 볼게. 에? 봐봐. 나이스.
Say nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
He's very curt with his
Yeah.
replies.
And take a look at his itemization. It's very good for the game as well. Yumu's, Hex Drinker, and Merc Treads against this dynamic team comp. And right after they raise this turret, gold lead extends even further. Almost at exactly 7,000. About 6.5 right now. A little bit of ping pong going back and forth. There's a lot of jungle camps that are still up to be consumed. Trinity Force and Monomune already completed for Fate. He'll be at his spike quite soon. And I really don't see a world where, unless Kuzan gets a multi-man Emperor's Divide into a Akali ultimate and a multi-man 5-point strike while having Pantheon also thrust his spear into about 3 people at once.
Wow.
With Ashe having a volley hit 3 people at once. A world where Dynamics wins.
And no, I think there's nothing else actually. Maybe Runons for Ashe as well, and she's autoing.
The interesting thing about this game in particular, and we'll see if it happens in game number 2, is the team comps never really came to fruition. Everything was falling apart in laning phase.
Yeah.
There was a million disasters going on.
This is like the Renekton drafting team's dream. They just want every game to go that way with their Renekton winning lane. The solo queue dream.
We did have Godzilla earlier here today.
That's true. I shouldn't talk badly about Godzilla after his performance earlier.
I'm so surprised. That name has never been used in League of Legends, I don't think. It was used in StarCraft. There's a player named Godzilla.
No.
Super.
In terms of, like, IDs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
There's also King Kong.
I guess they're trying to be creative, you know. They don't want to take another person's idea. All right, here's the flank. Oh, wait, no, I'm just kidding. Rich not going to flank. He knows what's good for him. He did pick up his gunblade, but got to be careful. Oh, just going to stick around.
Yeah.
Farm it out even more.
Wave. He probably needs an item if he's doing this, I'm assuming, or he just thinks that no one is going to be at mid in time. Dog looks very happy.
Yeah, I don't think dogs one-shot chomp bones.
They do. That dog does.
That's not the way
it's a breed
that
you don't quite
bones.
understand, Valdez. That's the real issue.
That kind of reminded me of like a dolphin jumping for food or something.
Oh,
not, not like a dog, but I wouldn't know, I guess. I'm a cat owner.
Well.
So.
That's fine.
Yeah. The package comes back. Package has been a big star this game. I feel like if we can give the Pog to anyone,
it would be
probably the package.
Yeah, or the dog.
Well, I mean, he's very talented at eating bones.
Yeah, he is.
That's about it. But yeah, the package you remember at the Rift Herald up top side, and the package to basically 100-0 Duck Dom.
Yeah, I think the package is best in show. Or well, the Corgi is for sure.
Best in show.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no Nasus here.
That is
true. To challenge.
Susan,
yeah, sorry.
As Dynamics, I mean, they don't really have anything to do at this point. They can try to just keep farming up, but Akali is so stunted. Ashe is useless in her current state relative to the opponents. One of the other things that is underappreciated right now is the level lead across all the champions. You have 1 in support, 1 in AD carry. I believe Fate is ahead, even though they're currently tied on EXP. You have 1 in jungle, and then you have 2 in top lane. So that is a lot of base levels that just give a lot of extra freedom over to Sandbox. It's not just the skill points, it's the HP that helps invalidate some ability presses or even autos out of the opponent. Makes the fights a lot more difficult.
Yeah, that's especially because they're getting multiple stats with every level up, not just one or anything like that. You can see that there was a lot of MR being built on the side of Sandbox, and the second item, Void Staff, comes out from Kuzan. So at least we have some intelligent itemization. Kuzan, though, he hasn't been having the best game, so even though he builds the Void Staff, it hasn't been such a good look here in game number 1 for him. As they're just going to walk up to a turret and basically take it here. Summit says, well, I'll grab it, I guess. And they're only one Drake off of the Mountain Soul on top of all of their resistances that they have been stacking. I mean, this Azir can only carry so much, but if you're going up against Mountain Soul with everybody that has MR,
yeah, I mean,
it's not going to be easy.
This game is looking super doomed right now if you are a Dynamics fan. Looks like Rich is going to come in here. He's going to try. Oh,
okay.
Honestly, it's just leave it to closer, okay?
You know, I think
leave it to closer.
He's just trying to provide some fun to the audience.
That is funny you say that.
Yeah.
There's no audience here.
Not the live audience, but maybe to
this
the
might
staff.
be why, actually. You know, like,
you know, he's 0-4. He's like, well, I mean, I have a lot of burst, and Corki doesn't have any MR, so.
Well,
there is that. You can say, well, maybe I can actually do something to this guy at least.
Well, in a minute and a half, I think that Dynamics is going to get the bad news. Now, hopefully, Sandbox have a bit more awareness than KT did earlier on. The 4th dragon, interestingly enough, let me tell you, because KT didn't seem to get this earlier.
Okay.
When you get it, you actually get the soul. The
Wait,
soul
well,
makes
what's
it,
that?
Well, it makes it very hard to lose the game.
Oh.
So, at the soul, it would be quite nice to just burst that down as fast as possible if you have a package on Corki. Maybe just park the sea and don't let them cross over it. Make it as difficult as possible. Get that, take the team fight, and it's a free win.
Wow. It kind of sounded like you said possible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like for the dog. So I appreciate your effort there. They're just going to do Baron. You see the Tom Genshin move? It's like, yeah, get the hell out of here. Like, you're not doing Baron, guys.
So they were trying to cheese it. It was not going to work out here today. It's almost a 10,000 gold lead, 9K. But if you factor in Mountain and Infernal, it's over.
Yeah.
10. So this game is absolutely, positively doomed for Dynamics. And I don't know really what to expect in a game number 2. They didn't utilize their counter picks on red side. It's a magnificent thing. And then in addition to that, I don't know what kind of a matchup Rich is really hoping to get. I also don't know why he didn't take Atrox when it was available to him. Obviously, Jace Atrox is a bit of an old matchup that I'm sure both of them have played many times. But it surely would have been easier for him to pilot than Akali into Jace.
Yeah, I mean, especially after we saw the way he was playing it. Like, he is an Aatrox master. We don't really remember him for his Akali play, especially after this game. So that's the other confusing thing about it, where there's so much focus on taking comfort picks and stuff like that, but he just went kind of like off the rails. Okay. And we're kind of just, now the Mountain Soul was taken, so we're kind of just watching Sandbox slowly take the game.
Yeah. And remember, this is a game where everything was going pretty fine, except in top lane. Azir was up 20, 30 CS over Corki, with just amazing control over the lane. The junglers were both really not doing a whole lot. Bot lane, for the most part, was fine. Kuzan, I mean, he comes in, he summons the Sand Soldier, he's looking for something.
Oh, Beyond. He's trying to force a fight, but he's going to bait his team into an awkward spot here.
Holly, this is nothing.
Not much they can do. Okay, well.
They're funneling in like flies.
Yeah, they're just going to try to give some extra kills over the side of Sandbox. And now with the Baron, you can see that Rich had a bit of a goofy smile on his face. He doesn't seem too affected, although Beyond does look very unhappy. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty straightforward win here in game number 1. straight up just winning it in the laning phase and totally dominating Sandbox or Dynamics here.
Well,
was Sandbox.
it seems like Summit showed up today, so far here in game number 1. And Dynamics, I mean, they're going to try to hang on, but I don't think that there is a world where they can. There's so many Baron enhanced minions.
Yeah.
Just going to focus the Nexus.
They're just going to take it. That's going to be the end of that one. They're going to look for some more kills. Let's add to our damage and KDA. GG. 26 minutes is all it's going to take for game number 1 as Sandbox stomp them down. And even the camera guy is going to agree with you. They zoom in on Summit, say, well, that matchup wasn't exactly a very even LCK matchup. I think Gorilla also had a nice little play down in the bottom side. There wasn't much for him to do, to be honest, so I feel like I just want to highlight that one play because it was pretty cute. And, yeah, overall, just winning pretty much every lane, other than the Corki, I guess, that got dominated very early on. But after that, it was a different story.
Weird definitely happened with the Corki, but Dynamics, I mean, they're losing over and over and over. And it just feels like they're not really managing to get away with anything. And Beyond's way of playing jungle doesn't really help them out that much in that regard. I mean, the random Rift Herald, I mean, are you out of your mind? What was he? I have no idea what he was doing. And it caused so many problems for mid and top lane. It also harmed bot lane too.
Yeah.
All of his jungle camps are up. Akali, Ashe, and Azir. Azir doing fine. And for some reason, just want to force the issue. Makes no sense.
Could have sat back, scaled, you know, even if the Akali gets a little bit behind, it's not the end of the world. It kind of like baited Akali into this awkward spot where she's like, do I have to try to help? And then she gets packaged and then dies. And it's like, well, that lane's not going to go very well. You can see that the damage was really heavily in favor of Sandbox here, to the surprise of nobody. Only 3 kills did go to the side of Team Dynamics, and that's it. No towers, no drakes, nothing.
And it feels like a very eerie game number 1 in the sense that nothing really happened, and yet Sandbox just blew Dynamics out of the water. So I don't know what to expect in game 2. Dynamics had red side advantage. They had a lot of good setup to get nice counter picks. Didn't really use it, and so what does that mean for their blind picks? I have no idea.
Well, the Akali blind pick, or not the blind pick, the counter pick did not work out too well. Either way, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, game number 2.
할것 같기도 한데.
판테 5초야 판테.
야 끝났어 털었는데.
아닌 것
아
같은데?
천천히 해봐 천천히 해봐 천천히 해봐.
해봐.
오케이 괜찮아 쫄지마
그래?
쫄지마 트런드 로플이야.
야,
네
넥서스.
넥서스
오케이 오케이.
넥서스 넥서스
한명
하자마자
죽여
전멸 다 쓰네.
아 나랑 동시에 박았는데.